everyone, it's Keren here. Welcome back to my channel. Today I have a new tutorial. It's part of the Genesis Hop, which I am joining a few of my friends, and I'm really excited because one of the things we're doing is we're creating projects that are for beginners, that are easy to create. Many years ago, and I'm talking quite a few years ago, I did this project in a class. It's quite an easy project, even though it looks more difficult than you think. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to show you in a video how I created this. And I just love this project. It's one of my first classes that I've ever taught, and I just think that showing you how to do that would really inspire you to create and collage. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it in a smaller version, just so that way you really have like a sense of how easy it is to create. I have this canvas, which is I think an 8x8 canvas, because this originally is an 8x10, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be creating it on this canvas. I've also printed out from the internet a butterfly. This is a large butterfly and another smaller one that will go on top. I'm going to put this aside and I'm going to show you how easy it is to create this. The first thing you need is book pages. And that's something that I know a lot of people have a hard time doing, and that is ripping a book. But trust me when I say it's okay. This was a really old book from when I was in university, and even though it's an amazing wood, it's basically all ripped up. And I just think they look beautiful when you use them on anything. So what I do is I basically tear papers apart, and then I'm going to glue them, collage them to the background, okay? So what I want to do is kind of create a frame around it. So I can do it in any positions that I want. You can cut them in any size that you want. The next thing you need is something like soft matte gel, or any type of gel like Mod Podge, or something that can seal your pages. I'm going to be using this silicone brush. It's really well used, as you can see, but you can also use any type of palette knife or anything like that if you don't have this, or even a credit card or some kind of card. I'm going to add this to the edges, okay, and start gluing. Now the important thing when you're collaging is that you glue things not only underneath but also on top. You need to make this smooth enough on both sides. So you need to like first put it where you want it, okay? So for example, I want it here, and then you need to seal it with the gel itself as well, because once we add the mediums on top, you want to make sure the paper doesn't get ruined, because it's a very thin book paper. So we can continue adding things, and I don't want it to look even at all. I want to make sure that it looks more uneven, but that it frames the whole thing. I'm going to add more here. And the point is that you can actually cut the edges as well after if you don't want a certain area to be on, or you can cut the paper in advance. So that's up to you. So I'm going to continue to collage this, and I'm going to fast forward it with music just because there's not much to show you besides what I did, and you're going to see the full effect at the end. So I really just finished doing it all around, and I'm just going to smooth out all the gel everywhere. And if there, it doesn't, I don't want it to look even, but you can make it even. I do like it when all the writing is facing out, but again, you don't have to. I mean, I put one of the writings kind of sideways here, and that's okay as well. Then what I will do is I just look for places where I think things are missing, like maybe for the composition. I wanted to make sure that it's very balanced, that the composition is balanced. So if there's anything that is missing, I will just add it. But truthfully, it doesn't really matter because we're going to be covering most of it with other stuff. So you're not going to really see it that much. It's more like for effect. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to dry this up. Now I'm also, at the same time, I showed you the butterflies, I'm actually going to fussy cut around them, so that way they're ready to go when I need to glue them. So I fussy cut the two butterflies, okay, but one of them is going to be kind of sticking out for the top, but this one I get to collage it on the background. So all I'm going to do is glue it to the background the same way that I did before. Now this step can be done later on if needed, but I'm just going to do it this time just so I can do everything at once. So I'm gluing this on and I'm eyeballing it. Obviously it's not like I'm measuring the sides. It looks pretty centered, and if not, that's okay as well, nothing happens. And then I'm going to seal it as well. So that works really well because now it's stuck to the bottom and it is done. Now for the other butterfly, I want to make sure that it is not going to get ruined when I add the color. So what I did is I actually added the gel medium on top and kind of created a coat of it on the actual paper. I'm going to be doing this 3 times on each side. So I'm going to do the front and the back. I mean, you can do this on your mat or some kind of packaging or something like that, where if you don't want to get your mat dirty, you basically, what it's going to happen is that you're going to get a leathery kind of effect in the background. So just putting the gel or Mod Podge or whatever you have at hand, it will make it strong, almost kind of like laminated, okay? That will help so it doesn't get ruined. So because this is like hard to control, you have to dry between layers. So I dry the first layer and make sure it's fully dried so I can add the second layer. The more layers you add, the thicker it's going to become, the more protected it's going to be, and you have to make sure you do it on the back of the butterfly as well. I can also completely heat set this as well at the same time. Now this canvas was done originally in orange, but I've also done it in other colors, so you can change the colors to do it in blue or in green or basically in any colors that you like. So now I'm adding the second layer. Now I'm not going to show you all the layers. I'm going to do this off screen afterwards just because there's no point in showing you how many layers, but I'm telling you that I'm putting at least 3 layers on each side, and this takes a little bit longer. That's the only thing that really takes the longest amount of time, is to put the layers of gel here, but it really makes a difference. So I'm going to do these and then I'll show you how they end up at the end. Once I've added all the layers to this butterfly and all these layers are dry, so this butterfly will probably be in the middle here, what I need to do is I need to add gesso on top. So right now this has gel, which is a very smooth surface, and in order for me to add color, I need something that will be good enough that it grips the color, and gesso is that thing. I am going to be using clear gesso. I need that grit that gesso has in order for the color to stick to the background and to the butterflies. So what I'm going to use is I'm literally going to put this on the background. Actually, I changed my mind. I'm going to put it with a paintbrush. I'm going to be painting this on top, and I'm going to basically cover everything. because I want the whole canvas to have that layer of gesso. The reason why I'm using clear gesso and not white gesso is because I want these pieces of book paper to actually show. If I actually put white gesso, they will hide those book papers. So clear gesso is a great solution for that. I'm also going to give this a coat of gesso just in the front. Okay, so that way I have the same surface that I have for the rest of the canvas. I want to make sure that I have the same surface, that it's ready to be used, and I don't have to worry about the color not gripping to the background. And once I'm done, I'm going to be drawing this with my heat tool. I've put this butterfly aside, and now I want to add more texture, and the whole point of mixed media is adding texture with layers. And I've grabbed this stencil. This is from Finnabair, but any stencil will work. In the original one, I actually use circles, but today I wanted to use squares. It doesn't really matter what you use. That's the point, that you can just use any type of texture, whatever you have at home. I'm usually use modeling paste. This is light paste. You can use any type of modeling paste. I'm going to be adding the texture only at the areas where there is book paper. I don't want to cover the butterfly, obviously, and I don't want to add it even either. The whole point is that the texture doesn't look even everywhere. And I just realized that my stencil is crooked, and that's okay. It is what it is. I'm not going to switch it right now because I worry that everything will get ruined. So it is what happens sometimes, that you put something not straight. It's almost straight, and that's okay. That's part of mixed media. Making mistakes is allowed. I can now kind of match it up as much as I can over here, and then just do the other side. Once I've done everything, I'm going to use my heat tool, and I'm going to dry everything really well. I want to make sure my paste is dried properly, so that way I can add the color. So there we go. Important part is to maybe wash your stencil really well to make sure that all the paste is gone from it. So I'm going to be washing that as well. And also, it's really important to go around the edges of your canvas and just remove any excess paste that you might have there. And there we go. Now I'm going to let it dry and wash my stencil. Now the best part comes through, and it is to add color. And you can add color with so many different things. I'm going to be using watercolors because I believe most people have watercolors at hand. However, if you don't have that, you can use sprays, you can use Lindy's Magicals, you can use any type of powdered color, that any water-based color basically will work. And what I'm going to do is I'm first going to wet everything, and I'm also going to wet the butterfly because that's something that we're going to be adding color to as well. Also, I want to wet the paints, and I'm going to be doing it in the shades of oranges and reds and yellow. So that's something that adding is good. Now what I want to do is start adding in the corners first. And why I want to add in the corners, because I want to make sure that it starts kind of blending it into the inside. I want to leave that white space in the middle, and it's good to do it in the corners first. So what happens is that when you lift this up, it could actually kind of blend into the inside. And you can start with lighter colors. You should also have some baby wipes at hand, so if there's something you don't want it to go in certain direction, you can. You can also have like a mini mister at hand to kind of bring in all the colors in, and then continue adding. So it's good to start with one color, and as I said, add it in the corners and then just move it with the rest. You can also start with yellow, but I don't know if I want to add yellow. That's why I didn't include it in here. I might add some pieces of yellow, but not everywhere. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the orange, let it all like blend in together, and then add the next color. I'm going to just put a little bit of music for the next little few minutes just to show you how I'm coloring everything. I'm also going to add the same colors onto the butterfly, and I want to start with the darkness in the center, and then just spray it. Oops. So it spreads everywhere. And as I said, you can remove what you don't want. So this area here, I want to keep it clean. So what I like about it is that you don't need to know how to draw. You can use images from the internet and create any type of thing that you like and just color it in by covering it with the gesso. That's the beauty about this. And I was going to say also, these colors are watercolors from Prima marketing, but basically any type of watercolor would work perfectly. I want to do the same thing here with the butterfly and just give it a little bit of that orange color. And maybe for this butterfly, for the butterflies, I can put some of that yellow kind of on the outside, and same with the other one. Just a little bit of it to just mix together. It's really good to work with layers, so it's good to kind of dry it if it's very, very wet, and then continue adding colors in places. So I'm going to dry this up really well and then continue with the next color. The next color I'm going to add is this orange. It's a little bit darker than the other one, and I'm going to follow the same thing, the same idea that I did before of just adding it in the edges. Okay, so just you're going to see the same thing that I just did, and just want to put some music and show you as I go. So what happens is that the colors kind of layer each other in terms of darkness. So you can see how easy it is to just paint on this because it has the gesso and it's not paper anymore. It has the feeling of kind of like a leather feel, and it has the gesso and the gel first and then the gesso, so it's really easy to paint on it and create. And I'm just trying to kind of make the butterfly look a little bit more organic, so I just kind of let it flow over there, and that helps with creating that depth of the butterfly. In reality, you will not see the center as much, so it's not very crucial that you work with it, because I'm going to be putting this one on top, but you will see some of it, so you don't want it to kind of look odd, so that's why you're adding it. I do want to add a little bit of, I think, yellow to the edges. I didn't add any yellow to the edge, and I want to add a little bit of yellow, so I'm going to do that now. It might not show as much, but in some places it might, and it just lightens it up a little bit. What yellow does is just kind of helps with letting things lightening things a bit, so adding it makes a difference. And you don't have to add it everywhere. You can just add it in certain places, and you can skip this step if you want the butterfly to be orange. If you want to do this butterfly in a different color, then again you can mix different types of blues or different types of oranges and so forth, and just create that way as well. I can also add a little bit of like red in the center if I want to make it look beautiful as well. So this changes the tone and it makes it really bright, so that's nice to see as well. I'm going to add a little bit of red. This is here as well, and I think I added too much water. I'm going to just dab it a little bit. So if you added too much water, you can dab. That works, okay, don't fret. And I'm going to add red a little bit to the edges as well. They're still wet, so they're kind of blending with the orange, and just to make them a little bit darker at the edges. So I'm going to add a little bit more yellow on the butterflies itself, and then what I want to do, besides letting them dry, I want to put something heavy on this one so it will stay straight. Okay, so I will keep it straight while I work with the rest of the stuff. I'm going to keep this straight so it really looks good. Another thing I want to do is just add some splatters, and those are added, like I can add them like in certain areas in the white space, so I can use some yellow to add splatters. I'm just using my fingers to basically press the paintbrush, but you can also do it with another, you can knock it with anything, with another paintbrush, so you can go like this, but it doesn't really matter, you can do it with both. So that's a little bit of that, and then I'm going to add a little bit of orange splatters. So it looks really, really nice. I'm going to add a little bit of red ones as well, just because I have all three tones in this project, and the splatters look really, really nice. So now I'm going to heat set this as well, and then I'm going to show you the next step. The next step is to add a little bit of black to the edges to kind of frame everything. And there's a few ways you can do this. One of them is to use just black watercolor paint, which doesn't come in these sets, so I have a different set of black. But you can also use a gelato or some kind of crayon to draw around, and you can also use ink. But I wanted to do the same effect that I did with the colors. I wanted to do this as well. So I figured that the first step that I wanted to do is to add black to the edges, and I'm just going to go around and just do the same exact thing that I did. So how it works is that you're adding this, spraying it in to misting it so it will go in. So that creates a really nice border for the background. You could also use like water-based ink, like distressed ink or distressed oxide ink if you want. But since I'm doing the whole thing in watercolors, I might as well just use watercolors for this effect. It works really nice because it really highlights the design of the stencil. So it's just a little bit of this that I'm going to add to just make it kind of frame everything, and then I'm gonna dry it up so that way you can see the effect. And you can stop here, or you can add one more step, which is stamping. And I actually have the same type of stamp that is as the stencil from Finnabair, so I thought to add a little bit of stamping. The way I like using the stamp is I like dipping it in the ink and then slightly raising it so you don't get the full image, the whole stamp image. I want to just get parts of it on my layout, so it just looks distressed. And you go around and you just work around the borders. So as you can see, you can barely see the written book pages, or the writing for that matter. It's just part of the collage on the outside, and it looks really cool. I'm just going to turn this around a little bit and just go around the whole page and just add that. You can stop here. You don't have to do this part of it, and you don't have to do the same type of texture. You could use circles, you can use anything you want for this. So I really like how this turned out. And I forgot before that with the black I also want to add some splatters, right? So you can wet this again and then just add a few black splatters with the watercolor. Now we've come to the last step, which is to glue the butterfly. I'm going to just edge the edges a little bit because it was cut out and some of it looks white, so I just want to make sure that it looks fully dark on the edges. And then I'm going to glue this, but what I want to do is I want to make sure that I'm gluing only the center so this can actually stay up. I'm going to add a little bit of the soft gel, the same one that I used to glue everything, in the center. And what I'm going to do is glue it this way. Now if you want the wings to really stay up, you can put little things in it. So I'm going to put, like, let's say something smaller, maybe 2 little pieces of something that will make them kind of stay that way so it doesn't stick to the background. Okay, so I'm putting 2 things that will make it stay and let it stick. Now for the sentiment, I was going to originally and you can do this, I was going to print something like this, but I think it's too big and it will not fit, so I'm thinking to just add one of the sentiments that I have from one of my sticker books that I've bought. But if you don't have that, you can definitely print something from your computer. So I took a quote from this Tim Holtz book. It says, "You're capable of becoming more than you realize." And I'm going to cut it up and just glue it into the background. So let me just move this, and I will add these after. I just want to make sure that it's all centered. And I can glue these as well with the gel. Okay, there we go. Once these are dry, you can actually go around and just highlight them if you want to. You don't have to, but it looks good. So there you go. I finished the project. It's really easy, although it looks super complicated. It's actually really easy, and I'm really happy the way it turned out. I really appreciate you joining me today. If you liked my video, please give it a thumbs up and hop along with the rest of the hop. You're going to see some amazing inspiration, and I really hope you like this. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please subscribe. I would love to hear your comments. And remember, I also have a Facebook group where you can share inspiration inspired by this video or any of my videos or projects or products. So if you liked it, if you do, please join at Keren, Tamir and Friends Creative Space. I would love to see you there. And I also have an Instagram account, so come and join me if you like. Thank you so much, everyone. Bye.